What a lovely comment.
Whatever I ever said, it's not necessary to write my name because this story isn't about names. This story is about faces who smile every day but can't see themselves. At night, I always looked fine. People used to say he isn't lacking for anything. He's a strong guy. He could never break. But the truth was that I was breaking a little every day without a voice. I remember my childhood. The house was full of people, but my heart was empty. Father's anger, mother's silence. I was in the middle of neither face nor face. When I cried, I was hushed. Larke, don't cry. When I was afraid, I was told, be strong. And that day, I learned hiding your pain is survival. In school, I was average. I neither topped nor failed. I simply passed by with a glance as if I didn't exist. I first realized this when I became attached to someone. His name is not even necessary. He wasn't just a person, he was my first hope that someone might understand me. I didn't tell him everything, but I did tell him as much as I had never told anyone. And then he left without a fight, without a reason, just one sentence. You're very heavy, heavy, as if my pain had become a burden for him. That day, I realized people love your smile, not your honesty. After that, I started becoming more fine, laughing more, being more among people, being stronger. But at night, when everyone went to sleep, I would lie down in the dark of the bathroom and look through the mirror, ask, why are you so tired? I never got an answer. Time passed by. Life was settling down, or less today. It seemed less and less like this. Job, responsibilities, people's expectations. I became everyone's support, but whenever I needed some support, all I got was my silence. One night was very heavy. I said to myself, that's it now. I had no plans to commit suicide, nor the courage to kill. Only this thought, if I hadn't been there, maybe everything would have been easier. I picked up the phone, checked my contacts, and then I hung up the phone because with every name I remembered my fake smile. That night I cried. I cried a lot, without a sound, with the pillow pressed in my mouth, and for the first time, I admitted one thing to myself. I'm not strong. I'm just tired. This is where my confession begins. Because what I couldn't tell the world, I might now be able to write what I said. I remained alive. When morning came, I was alive. And sometimes being alive is also a burden. I stood in front of the mirror, same face, same eyes, but something had changed. I didn't lie to myself for the first time. I went to the office, meted, people laughed, but this time I wasn't laughing out of tiredness. I was just role playing. And then one day I broke down over the smallest thing. There was one question. Are you okay? That was all. That sentence was enough for me. I didn't say yes. I said I don't know. And he remained silent. He didn't give advice, didn't offer motivation, just listened. That day I realized healing is not in the answer, but in being heard. Slowly I learned to speak not everything, not to every person, but a little thing in the right place. I found out that my story isn't unique. Every other person is hiding something. The only difference is that some people say nothing. I forgave myself on the fact that I'm not perfect, on the fact that I've been weak, on the fact that I want to stay alive. Even today, some nights are heavy. Even today, sometimes my heart says, that's it. But now I know these thoughts are the voice of my pain, not the verdict of my death. If you are reading this and you feel that this story is yours, then listen. You are not late. You are not bad. You feel very bad. You feel very bad. And that is not a sin. Confession does not mean being weak. Confession does not mean having the courage to tell yourself the truth. And I am still learning. The night I stopped lying to myself, I started noticing things I had ignored for years. The way my chest felt tight in crowded rooms. The way I laughed a little too loudly at jokes that weren't funny. The way I apologized even when I had done nothing wrong. I realized something disturbing. I had built my entire personality around making other people comfortable, even if it destroyed me. One evening, I was sitting alone in my car in a parking lot. The engine was off. The city lights were moving. People were walking. Life was happening. And I felt completely outside of it. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard, my knuckles turned white. A voice in my head said, "You don't belong anywhere." Another voice, softer this time, replied, "Or maybe you never gave yourself a chance to belong." That thought terrified me, because if that was true, then my pain wasn't just bad luck, it was something I had unknowingly helped create. I went home that night and did something I had avoided my whole life. I sat in silence. No music, no phone, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. At first, my mind screamed. Memories rushed in like a storm. Childhood moments, heartbreak, failures, loneliness, shame, guilt, regret. I wanted to run, but I stayed. For the first time, instead of fighting my feelings, I let them exist. And then something strange happened. They didn't kill me. They didn't swallow me. They didn't destroy me. They just passed like waves. That night, I understood something powerful. Pain doesn't need to be fixed, it needs to be felt. Slowly, I started changing. Tiny things. I stopped saying I'm fine automatically. Sometimes I said I'm tired. Sometimes I said I don't know. Sometimes I said nothing, and that was okay. I stopped pretending to be okay for people who never asked if I truly was. I began to distance myself from spaces that drained me, even if they were familiar. It wasn't dramatic, no big speech, no emotional breakdown in front of everyone, just quiet shifts. But inside, something was healing slowly, painfully, honestly. I wasn't cured, but I was no longer at war with myself, and that changed everything. What I wish I had known earlier, if I could go back in time and speak to my younger self, I wouldn't give him motivational speeches. I would sit beside him. I would say, "You are allowed to be messy. You are allowed to need people. You are allowed to break." Because nobody ever told me that. I used to believe that strength meant silence. Now I know that real strength is admitting when you are hurting. I used to think being loved meant being perfect. Now I know that being loved means Being honest, I used to believe that if I showed my real self, people would leave. Some did, but the ones who stayed, stayed for the right reasons. Healing didn't come all at once. Some days were still dark. Some mornings I woke up with that familiar heaviness in my chest. Sometimes the old thoughts came back, but now instead of fighting them, I spoke to them. I see you. You don't get to decide my life. That is what changed. Not the absence of pain, but my relationship with it. I started writing again, not to impress anyone, just to breathe. I started saying no without guilt. I started walking away from conversations that felt toxic. I started asking for help, clumsily, awkwardly, but honestly. And slowly, life felt less like survival and more like living. If you are reading this and you feel like I once did, I want you to know something very clear. You are not a burden. You are not too much. You are not broken beyond repair. You are human, and being human is not a flaw. It is the whole point. My confession is not just a story of pain. It is a story of staying, of choosing life again and again and again. And if one day you feel like giving up, remember, you don't need to be strong every day. You just need to stay, even quietly, even imperfectly, even while shaking. Because sometimes survival itself is the bravest thing a person can do.
Subscribe for daily Fazza poems in English. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon for more.